Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is Let's Dig Into That, where we volunteer our vulnerability because we believe sharing our shit is the only way to shake the shame.
Right. That is right.
This is a calling to connect, and who am I connecting with today? It is my captain of the snack around, my hallmark love and honey, ladies and gents, JT.
Thank you, baby. That was a really good one. The voice you just heard, everybody, that's the IRA Rother and the amazing author, the juggernaut of joy. It's Jordan, everybody. What's up, baby?
I rode that wave with you. Thank you. Thank you. I went like IRS. I'm like, oh man.
IRA Rother.
I am a huge fan of compound interest. It will come up a lot on this podcast. So big fan. I'm going to ask you just straight up, scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, God.
How you feel? Yep. Scale of 1 to 10. How do you think you range on the scale for self-discipline? How disciplined are you?
Self-discipline. Man, there's been times in my life where I've been very disciplined.
And I don't have a list in mind of something that I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, right. We'll see. This is the very beginning. We'll see. Man, at this moment in my life, I'd give myself like a 6.
Okay.
Yeah, not super solid, but like I can think back to my, athletics really make you be disciplined and teach you discipline. And so, I've been a very disciplined person. I was a vegetarian for 12 years. You know what I mean?
That's an excellent point.
But yeah, this is a really interesting, right back at you. Where would you put yourself? If I'm a 6, where are you sitting?
I'm loving that 6 gave me like, okay, he's doing some truth telling. Because if you'd rolled up here with a 9, I'd be like, who are we talking about? I'm with you on it's hard, almost impossible not to compare to a time in your life where self-discipline felt like one of your descriptors. And I have a black belt in karate. There was a time.
Yeah, talk about discipline.
Yeah, some straight A's and but again, living under your parents' roof though, I feel that's a bit of a cheat. So scale of 1 to 10, I'll play along as well. I think currently I'm in the midst of a bit of a struggle. And so I think I'm going to tie you there with I'm in the 6 range.
6 range.
But I have the capacity, damn it.
Right.
And that's what sucks is I'm a 6, but I know I could be, I'm even going to say like a 5.75 because I know I could do better.
Okay. Well, here's another question. I mean, this is a pretty vast category for a discussion. How would you define self-discipline?
Well, I think excellent point because how would I define it? And so, because let me quick caveat on, I want to blame my 5.75 on you. That my self-discipline struggle for some reason.
I'm so glad you said it.
That's why I think I wanted to flesh this out in a safe place because yes, if self-discipline for our intents of this chat today, prioritizing the long-term goals over immediate gratification, requiring that you overcome temptations and hold yourself accountable.
Instant gratification is a motherfucker. Pardon my language. But
I don't, I'll accept it.
You've just got my mind spinning a little bit. I'm kind of stuttering a touch because I'm sitting here thinking like, I'm a 6, you're a 5.75. What would you score us as a couple on the things that we work together on?
Higher. I do think that, yes, because I think hopefully that's if your relationship is set up in a way where I want to push it extra. I want to achieve those goals.
Right.
Because that's what the self-discipline, I do have another definition that I kind of like. It's actively incorporating self-control and consistent behaviors in a daily routine. So it's every day. And so that's where the self element, because I'm in charge of my person, but relationship wise, I feel like the discipline is maybe those deadlines are like, man, like for example, having this, getting preparation for the work we're doing together, for book deadlines that we have set in place, put in place for ourselves, that I think I'm more apt to hold myself to that than certain self goals.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like that sort of making conscious choices that align with your long-term goals is sort of how I would think of self-discipline before we got into this discussion of like, it's almost a giant category because when I think discipline, I instantly go to goal setting.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
why are you doing, what's the point?
Right. Can you even be disciplined if you don't know what you want?
Oh,
Not really, right?
Right. What do I want to achieve? Like, if you're right, because what's the reason to set the alarm for the time and put the money in the place and do all of that if there's not something you're aiming
Right.
at?
You kind of have to, like, step one is, what do you want? What are you trying to achieve here? And so like when I hear discipline, I instantly go to goal setting.
Yeah, and it does seem like discipline makes me think I need to get organized. So goals and like I'm going to need a list. I'm going to need pen and paper.
Right.
And so let's get this down. Because yeah, I don't think this is. I didn't want to come at you hard, but I feel this one thought that I had. I'm like, is self-discipline just like the absolute courage to be disliked? Like I'm not doing that. I'm doing me.
I think that's a huge element of it. Absolutely. Okay. It's because we put the self before discipline in this conversation, and to be self-disciplined, absolutely. That's a huge part of it is you have to kind of not care what other people are thinking because you're prioritizing. I think that's an important word when we're talking. You're prioritizing what you need.
To get yes.
So again, goal setting, boundaries. That's another huge element of self-discipline, right?
So maybe it's a reach. I agree. But the courage to be disliked, what would you rate us as a couple? Would you think we would be more...
Yeah, I was surprised.
Do 2 6s bring us to a 4?
I kind of do have that thought process. And I don't want to start a fight on our podcast. But...
I do. It's time. It's time.
But yeah, I mean, we're authors first. We're writers. And I can't think of something that you want to do that requires more self-discipline. You're on your own time. You don't have a boss breathing down your neck. Like, being a writer requires self-discipline. And our writing isn't in the world yet. It's getting there.
There's pieces that, yes, we are working to hone, and I do. Now I'm blaming you and my dogs. And I love them, but they are a massive distraction. But it is, I feel very lucky that we can talk about it, that in the past, 48 hours, I'm like, it's fine. I am a morning. I don't necessarily need to socialize and chit chat, but I like to process and I like to see the sun come up. I'm very okay with that. And I think that might be my window of time where I actually have the power of self.
Okay.
And these dinks are not just following me around my house. And dinks, I'm including present company.
I'm aware.
I love you, but And so, yeah, that is so true that I think my self-discipline in that area is I would put that at the very top is my creative work. The desire I have is that fire burns so hot that it feels like nothing else matters sometimes because it's bottled up in there.
I get that. And so when I was thinking about as a couple, you and I, in our self-discipline, I was very much thinking about a lot of the projects that we work on together. And sometimes those can take a back seat. And so I was to everyday life, we have to clean our house. We have to clean our windows. Life happens. And sometimes we don't get to these big projects. And so that's where my mind went, where man.
The distractions element is so massive.
Absolutely.
Yes. And we have very loving community where phones ding a lot. And it's problematic to a focused, train of thought. Absolutely. I think it's interesting where in the terms of our relationship dynamic interesting. Sorry about that. But that,
jar.
Yeah, exactly. That how self-control in a relationship, if you told me I've got great self-control if we were in the dating, getting to know one another phase versus I'm pretty disciplined. I have this sort of routine.
Ooh, good question.
I would have self-control would bring up sort of a pseudo red flag for me. So he is or she or whomever I'm seeing at the moment, but this person is likely to prioritize themselves over any relationship. In a boundary setting world, that could be pretty darn healthy.
Exactly right.
I'm not sure that's a bad thing. What is your take on self-control? Because it was part of that definition of incorporating self-control.
And I think that self-control is a part of discipline because going back to what I already said was an MFer, really that instant gratification devil that can be a part of our lives. Self-control for me is more of an in-the-moment impulse control kind of thing. And so if I was meeting someone new and they're like, oh, I'm very self-controlled, I immediately think, oh, okay, they don't think they're impulsive. They don't make on-the-fly, spontaneous decisions.
Planner.
They're more of a planner. That's where my head goes as opposed to, oh, they're self-involved. I go, they're not impulsive. And being able to manage and control your impulses is a big part of being self-disciplined. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's the difference in how I would sort of categorize those things. Is self-discipline is a stepping stone to becoming a disciplined person.
Yeah, first date
Self-control
moment. If this person said, "Wow, I'm very disciplined," I'd be like, "Wow, they could help." Like I could really, potentially we could work out together or read these books, like I could maybe connect. If somebody was like self-control, it's like, "Oh, they've ruined dessert for me forever." Like they're going to just be fun hater. Yeah, like self-control does not get me hot and bothered in the slightest.
I'm with you.
But it's a part of, I do think I have self-control because of the two of us, I think instant gratification is more your trigger. Like you're a quick trigger on I could be the haver of that, where I am an anticipation junkie, where I can, the goal is juicy, I can play the long game.
I believe that. Absolutely. It's hard for me to get our mind off of the projects that we've been working together. And so I'm not trying to start an argument.
Do it.
But like taking time away from earning a steady income in the hopes of selling a book or a long-term goal like that could be more financially beneficial. That's a situation that we're currently in. That's a really big struggle, right? So
you want to clarify slightly for me?
Well,
you're being so polite and I don't think you need to be.
We stress out all the time about, our finances and where things come from the next time. We need to make money.
We've made some unique conscious decisions.
We need to make money now, as opposed to, man, if we really hit this hard and it could be way bigger and way better than anything we could do right now. That's so hard in the moment. Like,
yes, you are completely spot on that it does. Yeah. The instant gratification of the immediate need,
right?
That those priorities where we are still looking at and I have a tendency to be like, I'm a great multitasker, and that is still taking away. That is not a disciplined behavior. And so I'm glad that you pointed that out, because I also love that you opened with my Roth IRA intro, because I am very protective of my nugget. And so, I do think it is important that the finances are a part of that goal. And so, there's a lot of...
We have a goal that we've set together, and when we're not actively working on it, which again would be the instant gratification part of that, it's so stressful.
Disconnect major, and the tensions are high. And I've been a little nasty, and it is not like I have self-proclaimed, like whatever this is not a good look, because I do have, and it is coming from this, like this needed to be talked about, because I don't feel that I have control. Like I'm really good. I make my bed. Ask me how many push-ups. I've done push-ups every day. I don't do a ton.
You are
for 2 years.
Very self-disciplined. Think about your cousins and what you like.
Accountability. That's an excellent one. Yes.
You have this pact with
I
your
have
cousins.
the power. Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up. That I do have amazing cousins that we have for a couple of years plus at this point, where we send a daily emoji. So long story very short, first of the month, these are my own personal 3 goals that I'm throwing out there that are a daily practice. So good on the discipline check. And then we send a little just dorky, whatever we pick, emoji. So I won't get reamed for not doing it. I won't get any sort of flack. I receive this,
Yeah, can I interrupt you for
a second?
Yes, here's the real question. So you pick an emoji for the month for your goals, and if you hit all 3 of those goals, you send that emoji.
I send it 3 times. So
what happens when you get those 3 emojis and you haven't hit your goals?
I usually say a curse word of and I usually text back with a awesome, nice, get it. And so it is a good pump up, but it does motivate me to drop and give me 20 is a real thing that I do. But it includes, I do my self-love. I talk nice to myself, and gratitudes that I have a little, and that's one of my emojis. And so it is really motivating, but I also love that it's not, there's no reaming, because it's so important with self-discipline to keep a positive. I can't shame myself into doing better.
Right. Because it's negative reinforcement.
Yeah.
We already talked about that with Dr.
Patty Templeton Smith, shout out.
What negative reinforcement does is it can change the behavior in the moment, but has no long-term effect whatsoever.
Right, which does remind me of the strengths, I think. That's such an interesting point of self-discipline. Like, 'cause if you can pump yourself up, you're more likely to continue doing these positive habits, routines, etc.
Absolutely. It is like the base of trauma-informed care that you strengthen strengths, because guess what? Those areas that might be a deficit work right along with it. And so when I think of self-discipline in that terms is like, if you get really practiced and you get good at achieving your goals, following the steps to get to where you want to go, when shit hits the fan, you're better prepared to handle it.
You're equipped.
Because you've been sharpening your strengths. Does that make sense?
The self-discipline of not having the reaction that you can't take
Right.
back that is up in flames.
Exactly.
And I think that's so cool because I feel like our education system is, like, not to do a general, maybe this is a negative comment I'm throwing out here, but it's a tricky system, and I know all these kiddos deserve absolute best education, but it is so hard when we spend time, you need to get this math or this history lesson through your skull before we can move on.
Right.
When this kid is a rock star, loves science, can't get enough, biology nut, and lean in. And I understand that's an impossibility, and so this is nothing but mad
Right.
props, but I do think there's a lot of power in honing your craft, where it's
Absolutely.
like, I feel better when I for those that non-drinking AA, like prayers are a big deal, and having
Absolutely.
that sort of,
Well,
yeah.
since you brought up AA, I mean, in the AA preamble,
They're about discipline a little bit.
yeah,
And
big
non-drinking,
time. But in
yes.
the preamble, they say something. It's progress over perfection. That's really, I think, what self-discipline is about, is you have something that's measurable and you see your progress and you're okay with it moving in these slow steps. That really is part of discipline, is like, it's not going to happen all at once. This takes patience. That self-control element. Patience is a huge part of
Not
self-discipline.
great. I'm not great at that. Yes.
Well, I think we've established that we're not super disciplined people in our lives right now in certain elements, but what do you think it is that creates this disconnect of where in some elements of my life I am crazy disciplined, and in other elements I have zero discipline at all? I have ice
that
cream
prioritize?
every night. Every night. I'm an ice cream junkie. I made a song about it.
You did write a song about it. We will re-release that track, Ice Cream Junkie. And I share that weakness. And so I do like a little something sweet.
But why do you think we have that disconnect?
Is it priorities? Is that because you're...
I don't know.
I mean, that's such
yes,
a
it would have to
comfort.
be.
There's so much depth in why do you eat ice cream? Like, is that a hug that you needed that day? Is that a caloric? We justified that you're like, it's just protein. It's protein,
That's
babe.
how I justified it in my mind. Yeah.
And so it's a curiosity, because again, knowing that I have the capacity for like showing up and getting it done. But I think that's what the discipline is reminding myself just to keep showing up.
Right.
And so where I'm not patient, I am good at taking the reminder to not be discouraging to myself.
Yeah.
I can grab onto that and run with it. I can be the pump up hype man of little goals, but that's so true when you're like, I'm training for this marathon and you have this 10-mile day and your knee feels a little sore and you don't run. You're like, screw it, screw the whole damn thing. I'm out,
Right.
not doing this anymore. Like, that just sucks. And so
Right. And
having an accountability partner can be so helpful in that moment to be like, no, we're
Right.
in this. Yeah, we're going to take the day and get better.
Athletics, when I was training, I ran a marathon. I've actually run a couple marathons. I followed training regimens, and at no point in that training regimen did I ever run more than 13 miles at one time.
Yes,
But I
agreed.
got to run 26 on race day.
So I only did a
Actionable
half.
steps.
Right. I only did a half, and so the longest run day I believe was 11, and a half being 13.2 miles, I think 13.1.
Yeah.
And I don't have a need to do that, but I wish that I could go back and see what I Googled, like running half marathon for woman who despises running. And just can't, because I'm like, I'm not a treadmill person. I played soccer, but like, it took a push and a wingman, and that is self-discipline. So I'm not going to run a marathon in 2025 just to go on record. But if I could set a morning writing regimen, I would get such fulfillment from that.
I know. And that's the thing. Like, we know it, but we're not disciplined enough to do it. So looking, I did some research too.
Good.
I knew we were going to talk about this.
It was going to come up.
There are 7 suggestions, things that you can do in your life that can potentially make you a more disciplined person.
Oh,
And
7.
I got these off of the Calm app. And I really like the Calm app.
Yeah.
LeBron James did their ads at first, but I really thought they did a good job with these. And so I'm just going to kind of throw them out to you and see what you think.
I'm ready.
First one, we sort of already talked about this. I love how many we've hit just in this conversation because I'm kind of flipping this over for the first time since I looked at it originally. First one is clear goals. Gotta have clear set goals, which is where my head went almost instantly. Second one, honest about your own limitations.
Oh.
I think that's really good. And like, I'm a snoozer, right? You hate my alarm clock.
Snoozing's dumb. I don't. If you're gonna get up later, just.
Well, it's one of the areas where I'm not very disciplined, right?
And I understand some people have their could be a how you wake up lovely time.
But what I love about this is if you're honest about your limitations, you can actually take action to do something about them. For instance, an alarm clock, move it to the other side of the room.
Great
suggestion. If you're a snoozer, like there you go. Like you can act if you notice and can be honest about your limitations, you can then take action to do something about them. So that was number 2. Number 3, prioritize planning. I don't think I'm great at this one. I think you're much better at planning than I am. That's a step I usually skip.
Yes. Much like your camping opinion when you're like, I don't love the setup or the breakdown. Also the planning. I do think that you don't like. You like the campfire.
I just want to go to the woods.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Go to the woods with a bag of marshmallows and eat set. So planning, yes. And especially I think there's an excellent point there of the decision fatigue. Because if you plan having to make
oh man,
when you get there's sometimes we've all been there when they're like, what do you want for dinner, and your face is just like food,
hand me food.
Yeah, weird, I am on survival fumes right now. And so if you can set up a framework of little tiny successes and shit that's already planned in your day that is a product of discipline.
I'm going to give you a ding, 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 because guess what number 4 is? Break your goals into actionable steps.
Big fan.
Yeah. Things that you can achieve.
Got it.
That's how you can achieve things, you know? Have your milestone moments. The little things you're like, okay, I'm here. And then you get to
celebrate it.
Exactly.
Reward yourself.
Pretty sure that's on here too.
Okay, so what I'm learning from this is I know all of them. I'm doing little. This is cool.
Yes. Number 5, accountability partners.
Yep.
Your cousins.
I was going to say alarm clock with the snooze. I do know one of my cousins that she does an awesome smile meditation in bed and stretches and wakes her body up and her mind in a very positive, peaceful way. I've tried.
I know who
I wake up.
She's a badass.
Yep. Shout out DC. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I wake up sometimes like a rage pirate. And so I haven't done the smile meditation because I'm afraid my bed will burst into flames. And so, yeah, keep going.
Stephen King. Number 6, reward your progress.
I'm really good at this. Yes.
I don't think we struggle there. And number 7, I think this one's pretty important. Have a plan B. Know what you're going to do if you don't achieve some of these goals. Have your lower track. What is Aziz's line?
I always advise others to take the high road. Gives me more room on the low road.
Exactly. And I'm not saying shoot low, but make sure that your goals are achievable. And that's sort of what I think that's saying is sometimes you're still going to shoot too high. Make sure that you have that secondary course that still sort of fills your cup.
Yes. Is that number 7?
Can I add one just for myself?
Because that's what we need is, just more rules.
I'm just saying, we want to be more disciplined. These are things that I want to put into action in my life. The last one is write it down. If I put goals in my head, I can change them whenever I want. If I write it down, it makes it real.
That is true. Our accountability text thread starts on the first with a bullet point of these are my 3 best set intentions.
Yes.
I'm going to give it hell. And so writing it down, it's so true. And having... Yeah.
Right. You literally would have to cross it out and I don't know about you, but when I'm writing on a piece of paper, handwriting, I like to make it look nice. If I'm crossing something out, I'm usually tearing the page out, you know? And
I'm
that
all
makes
about
it so real to
having
me.
shit in writing. Did I tell you about when I asked a guy for to bring a resume in college to a date? It was my buddy, Nick. Yeah. And so
you asked him to bring a resume?
Well, we were friends already. I was like, you got to up the game. Why would I invest in the next level? And so it was more of an interview.
Gotcha.
It was a hoot. But
that doesn't surprise me at all.
So Aristotle, if you've heard of him, not a buddy from college, but Greek philosopher, but through discipline comes freedom. And so first time I saw that, I was like, ha, 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 freedom's what I want, but how could that make any sense? And I think that you just hit on the points that it gives you a clear path that makes, by default, if you're moving forward on that path, those distractions are falling away at a quicker pace. And at the end, that freedom is you are getting what you want because you know what it is that you want, coming back to your OG question.
You've clearly defined what it is you want and how to work towards it.
So what I want is quiet space, pen and paper. Yes, apparently.
Well, to put some more trending in today's times terms to what you're saying, when you really get good at being disciplined and you are a disciplined person in your life, you gain two things that I think are incredibly important. The first one's mental clarity. And that's exactly what the Aristotle quote is referring to, is we now have an understanding of what we want and how to get there.
Kind of knowing thyself.
That's huge. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then the second one is emotional resilience. And that goes back to that strengthening strengths moments.
You're prepared when the shit hits the fan.
Absolutely. You've done the work to make sure when you get off course, you know how to get back on it. And that's where, like, when I'm sitting here thinking about, in moments of my life, I've been extremely disciplined, but in other areas, and maybe right now, not so much, I know how to get back, but I haven't been practicing discipline. And so it's harder. And it's like the harder you're not disciplined, the longer you're not disciplined, the harder it is to get back into it.
Back in the flow.
And so when you are disciplined, you have this emotional resilience to really combat what comes your way and get back on track to what you're working towards. So those are sort of the takeaways I hope people
take. I feel like role reversal that this is usually your line of, man, I wish you could see, because you're actually quite disciplined. I see these moments. And so, but it's so cool and dynamic to be driven to want to kind of hone that area. Because again, I think that it threatens my fun. And so, but I also understand, I use the word fulfillment, and I obviously wrote this calm list of all the things that are going to set you up for success.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Did you ever have a coach or a teacher use the SMART?
Yeah. Specific. So SMART
measurable,
goal setting is what they called it, right?
Exactly. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based is the way I learned it.
Yes, I had a
realistic or relevant.
Realistic, I think was the one I had.
I think I've heard it both ways. I think that's a really great tool to kind of keep in mind.
So acronym, SMART goals. Specific,
measurable, achievable, relevant or realistic, time-based. I think that's a great little tool to use. Like, if you want to be more disciplined in your life, that's a great place to start, don't you think?
Yeah.
And I heard that in third grade. Every coach I've ever played for has...
Why not implement now?
The 7 Ps
this is the moment.
And SMART. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. You ever heard that one?
Of course. Of course.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it is. It's about that balance. But yeah, the morning routine, I think, is that sacred time. And that can set you up. Again, I think the decision fatigue at the end of the day, where it's like the discipline, where it even like ties into your ice cream, where at the end of the day, if I am just gassed, I'm like, yeah, I want something that comes in its own container.
Right.
Like all required. And so, yeah, having a little more energy I want to be more proactive in my life. And that seems like what we're talking about.
Is that the one area? Like, we're getting close on our time limit here. Those
advertisers hold us to a tight clock.
If you had to pick an area, like what, after this conversation today, right now, what is it that you'd like to be more disciplined on? Is it that morning routine that you want to craft and hone?
It is, because all my monthly goals this month are all possible in the morning, and I'm also doing those usually with a quick profanity when I'm like, oh shit, I didn't, and so I'll get back out of bed and finish my push-ups or whatever. That's a silly example, but that is usually the one that I'm like, oh, I'll knock those out, no problem later, and I'm like,
How many push-ups did you do last year?
I don't know. So I made it just as a funny little, let's see, I was testing my discipline probably. And I was like, it's 2023. I'm going to do 23 because Michael Jordan's number, come on. And my name obviously is Jordan. Yeah. And so it seemed like the only option. Yeah. And so I was like, I'll do 23 push-ups a day. And that was kind of fun.
And you did it every day?
Well, there were times when I would do like a double
the next
down.
day.
And there were definitely days that I did more, but I definitely exceeded a 23 a day goal for sure.
So 23 times
and it's December in 24 and I am rolling. And so,
nice.
Yeah.
That's
but
incredible.
It does, when I do those, I think about, have I done my gratitudes today? And if I already have, it's like, oh man, that was so nice. I will revisit so it's become a really positive. So setting yourself, that's what I need, is the positive nuggets, those little milestone moments. And so I can be an accountability captain in this house, but
I know you can. And that's the punchline of all this, is I think everyone has had times in their life where they were really disciplined.
Yeah.
And it's about getting back into that routine.
What's the opposite? Like, what is that phase called? Are you lazy? No? Are you...
I would think laziness would maybe fall
indifferent.
Indifference, I think, is much more of the culprit.
Yikes. Because, self-discipline, like you said, like kind of knowing thyself was... And so, having literally no say.
And again, that instant gratification goes into that as well, where... I don't care enough to do that right now because I'm enjoying what I'm doing. You're getting that instant gratification. That's the goal. How I want to be more disciplined is I want to take away the TV time that I really soak in. Because in reality, when it comes to watching TV, I love to watch my sports teams, but everything else doesn't need to happen. I just kind of don't want to do the other things I could be doing.
Sure. And I think, that's an interesting one, like how you spend your time.
Yeah.
That's another, content. What are you exposed to in a day? Oh, man. Okay. Well, on indifference and laziness. This has been really great. No, I'm excited. And so I think that it's nice to have the conversation, too, because I'd like to be an encouraging force.
I think this is a good conversation for couples to have because it really helps you sort of align your goals together and your goals on your own. You know?
Yeah. So like first date for the last, we'll just wrap that one up. So you ask me how self-disciplined I am, and I'd be like, I need you. Like, crisis mode. Please help. So, all right.
Well, great.
Be gentle with yourself. Celebrate the milestones.
Love it. Absolutely. Be great at discipline, and you will have more mental clarity and more emotional resilience. Sorry.
Yeah. Emotional resistance. Hey, you know what? You will be in such a state that you can decide. They will let you decide if you want emotional resistance or resilience because you will have that sort of discipline.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for chatting with me.
Of course. Great conversation. I'm JT.
And I'm Jordan.
Come back and see us.